Hey friends and family, my name is Skylent, and today I want to talk about the top 5 MOBA that you can play right now. Now, this is an upcoming MOBA, so no early access games, no MOBA that's on the horizon, far in the future, or, you know, pretty close. No. There's gonna be MOBA that you probably actually already know the names of. These are MOBA that already exist. These are MOBA you know of, okay? Well, hopefully. If you don't, then hey, you can be educated. Anyways, this video is going to be for people who really are kind of just getting into the genre as a whole. Maybe you just play one of these, or maybe you play none of these, and maybe you want to kind of, you know, learn a little bit more. I want to kind of help elucidate the situation. I want to tell you the differences that these games have between each other and why you should give some of them a shot, if not all of them. Because I like MOBAs, dude. I play all of them. And these are the 5 that are out right now that are legitimately good. They're great. They're amazing, in my opinion. You have to try each and every one of these, I think. At least one of them, okay? If you don't play MOBA, at least try one of them. But anyways, let's get into the list here. I want to talk about a game called Vainglory. Now, Vainglory is a mobile MOBA. And I want to talk about this one first, because if you've never played a MOBA, I think that this would be a really good starting point, at least for standard MOBA. So it basically is take something like League of Legends, okay? Take a lot of the core concepts and kind of distill them, make it a little bit more simplistic, but unlike other mobile MOBA, still keep the complexity where it counts, okay? So in League of Legends, there's lots of skill shots, there's lots of really high precise timing abilities. It's just a lot of skill, okay? A lot of mechanical skill. That's what we call in MOBA mechanics, right? Things that just take a lot of precision, timing, aim, reaction speed. You know, everything's really fast-paced. But that Vainglory is that. Even though it's, you know, you're tippity-tapping on your tablet, nah, dude, you still got skill shots. You still got that precision, man. You still got that timing. You still have the mechanics, which is just really surprising. You also have a pretty good item shop, and the map overall is not, I mean, it's not 3 lanes, it's not ginormous like Dota 2 or anything, but it's definitely bigger than a whole lot of other mobile MOBA. And basically, I can go on and on about Vainglory, but essentially, it is definitely, in my opinion, better than any other mobile MOBA. They even have tournaments, paid, they have money, they got pretty okay numbers for streaming. And all in all, it's just a fun game that's gonna run great. It's got really cool, awesome characters that have a lot of character. The art style is amazing. Dude, I could gush. In fact, I probably will gush about a lot of these games, but Vainglory is a really nice introduction to the genre of MOBA that is like League of Legends. So it's gonna be kind of standardish, but at the same time, it's a mobile MOBA, so it's a little bit more simple, right? You have a single lane, and you have the jungle. So you're gonna have your junglers, you're gonna have your supports, you're gonna have your laners. It's not gonna be too convoluted, okay, but at the same time, it is still definitely mechanical. It is still definitely fast-paced and fun. Yeah, definitely some skill to be had there. Next up, we have a game called Smite. So yeah, Smite is also definitely directly related to League of Legends in a lot of ways. It's more about the action, you know, it's more about the mechanics, which makes Smite very fun because it's a third-person action MOBA. So to a lot of people, it's actually very intuitive, especially if you get it on consoles. You're gonna be able to pick it up and play, and it's just really easy to get into, especially since for new players, they have auto-purchase items, auto-leveling abilities. But the truth is that even though it is pretty intuitive and it seems, you know, very simplistic on the surface, it's actually a full-fledged MOBA, okay? So you have your full item shop, which, okay, it's not as complicated as Dota 2, but it's just as complicated as League of Legends. You have your character roster, which is just as complicated, if not more complicated than League of Legends. And its map design is, you know, also very similar to League of Legends. Then again, a lot of MOBAs have the whole 3-lane setup thing, so yeah. Anyways, it is definitely directly inspired from League of Legends. It took a lot of things like that League of Legends did, you know, from Dota 2, where Dota 2 was more on strategy. League of Legends is more about mechanics. It's like that, except even more mechanics. A lot of people want to dispute that Smite it just, you know, takes the camera, makes it third person, doesn't mean it's actually more mechanically intensive. No, it really is, guys. Smite actually is. There's even a term for whenever somebody goes 1-on-1, you know, 1v1 an opponent. It's called boxing, because in Smite, it actually is that complicated. It almost feels like actual boxing, especially because there's this thing called attack chains, where actually attacks have different modifiers depending on the sequence of the attack that you're on. So well, it's a sequence, but what step of the sequence? So you have your first attack does maybe 1 times damage, then your second attack, and this all depends on the character, might actually be a double attack. And then you have different timings for your attack chains. And that's just with your, what would normally in League of Legends be an auto attack. So your auto attack is actually a whole chain of different kinds of attacks for every single character. Then every single character has these very intensive, mechanically intensive abilities, you know, your 1 through 4 that you level up. And then of course you have the item shop, which it's not as complicated as Dota 2, as I already said, but because of the mechanics, oh man, dude. Anything that boosts your movement speed, anything that adds damage, anything at all that adds to your stats is going to drastically affect how you play Smite because it is so focused on those mechanics. It's pretty awesome. Now we have a game called Heroes of the Storm, and this is by Blizzard. And basically it's a bunch of characters from all the Blizzard games, and it's thrown in there, and they probably could have just been done with it from there and just made a League of Legends clone. They could have. But Heroes of the Storm is very different. Heroes of the Storm actually seems more inspired from Dota 2, but went in a completely different direction from League of Legends. And instead of focusing on mechanics, actually Heroes of the Storm is mechanically non-intensive. Like, I don't think there's a single character where I feel like I am doing a whole lot of precision, or maybe there might be some precision, but there's not a lot of reflex, or really every single character has its very specific skill set that you need to focus on. And that's kind of it. You don't really need to do too much. Like, you don't really need to worry too much in Heroes of the Storm. And that kind of goes for itemization, because there are no items. It's just, you just kind of level your character. Super simple. Yeah, they kind of combined the ability leveling and the item purchasing, kind of combined that system into one, which is, you know, just super simple, actually. So all in all, Heroes of the Storm is probably the single easiest MOBA to get into on PC, but at the same time, it's really complicated in the sense that there's tons of different kinds of maps that have tons of different objectives. In all the other games on this list, you have the single map. You have the one map, the one items, of course you have the expanding roster of characters, but you're always playing the same map, you're always doing the same thing, the same objective. Heroes of the Storm is not like that, dude. It is all sorts of different crazy maps. Every map's a new game mode. It's ridiculous. And the way different characters can play out, because you can actually get different ultimates for some of these different characters. So it actually, like, every match really feels very different, even though it doesn't have an item shop. I mean, mechanically, not that intensive. It really focuses on teamwork, on team tactics. So you need to know the map objectives, you need to know the different strategies, you need to work with your team and all these different characters. You need to really work with them in order to plan out different attacks, you know? Should one person flank around with a specialist type character and siege different towers? Because in this game, your abilities actually hit towers, unlike any other game, so that's pretty cool. Should you just all team fight? Should you focus on the side objective, or should you just go for the throne? There's a lot of different things that you need to think about, and if you're new to competitive games or new to team-based games, and especially MOBAs, this game could feel kind of uncomfortable. But as for mechanics, nah, dude. Any new player who's never had a keyboard and mouse in their hand could probably jump into Heroes of the Storm. But if you are completely new to team-based games, it's still going to feel weird. But I think Heroes of the Storm might actually still be a good first game to get into. Okay, let's talk about Dota 2. Dota 2 is, it's a good game. Actually, guys, I think, in my opinion, it might be one of the best games of all time. For one, it's kind of split. Okay, well, it's split into two things. So for one, the custom games, it's pretty cool. How can I even gauge that? How can I say if that's really great or not? Do I even consider that part of the game? Because, when you do the custom games, it's not really like you're playing the MOBA anymore. It's more like you're playing the engine. So if you play Dota 2, you know that there is a custom game finder, and you can play like horde mode survival. What is there? There's like the Hook Wars. There's there's actually single player RPGs in the custom games. Co-op little game modes, and there's just like a lot of little game modes and stuff that you can do in Dota 2, so that makes Dota 2 really special and fun. But in this list, since we're specifically talking about MOBA, don't know if I can really compare that, but anyways, that's a thing. Dota 2 has custom games, and it's fucking awesome, okay? Mod support, all that good shit, custom player stuffs, that's cool. But let's talk about the actual core game, the Dota 2 core game. Now, Dota 2 is different from the others because it's really strategically intensive. So it took me 100 hours to actually kind of start having fun in Dota 2 because you have to learn all the different items. And unlike these other games, the itemization in Dota 2 is the most complicated. In fact, pretty much every mechanic in all these other games they come from Dota 2, but they're distilled versions. Like League of Legends, it's got a jungle, but Dota 2 has a jungle that is significantly more complicated in almost every way. And yeah, it's convoluted, but, you know, it's still more complicated. And a lot of people like all the different factors and all the learning process of Dota 2. I just want to tell you, like, there's things like you can kill your own creeps, which is really unintuitive. You can actually deny your own towers. You can stack jungle creeps, for instance, and the jungle spawning is random. Like, there's different random monsters for... seriously weird. Also in Dota 2, you can actually destroy the terrain, at least the trees. And yeah, there's actually verticality. There's a day-night cycle. Dude, there's just a lot of stuff that you gotta memorize in Dota 2. So Dota 2, even it was technically the first MOBA I played, but it was not the first MOBA that I really got into. I had to play Smite first. Smite was definitely a lot easier to get into. Here's the Storm, and then Dota 2 to get into it hardcore. Like, it just takes a lot. It takes a huge amount of patience. So I don't recommend it for new players, but I don't know, man. Once you do get into it, if you can get into it, there's so much content there. Yeah, I do think it's really unintuitive in a lot of ways, but holy shit, it's really cool. Now, some heroes are a little bit more simple than others. They really are. You know, it's like Doom. Doom is mechanically fucking boring, okay? They're like, you don't do anything as Doom. But if you play someone like Broodmother or Nature's Prophet or Meepo, holy shit, dude, mechanically intensive as hell. Also, man, the itemization, some characters are really boring until you finally get your Force Staff, and then all of a sudden you're going ham, dude, or your Blink Dagger, and you're blinking all over the place. So Dota 2 is just like, it's polarizing, and it's filled with extremes. So you gotta learn those extremes, and then once you do, you can finally learn the playstyle, play the characters that you want to play. It just takes a little bit longer to get into versus some of these other MOBAs. But once you do, it's awesome. And finally, let's talk about League of Legends, the most popular game in the world, well, the most popular competitive game in the world. Yeah, dude, it's fun. It's fun, dude, okay? What do you want me to say? I know a lot of you guys want me to talk down on it, but dude, in a way, it's amazing. Now, I guess all these other games on the list actually kind of do something that League of Legends doesn't do, and they do it kind of better. But in the end, League of Legends, just all in all, like, overall, it's kind of like, it's got everything. It's like the Walmart of MOBA. Except in some instances, it does, in fact, have like its own things that no other game does. So for instance, I was talking about how Smite is a really mechanically intensive MOBA. Well, in the end, League of Legends has characters that I've literally never seen, and even in games like Smite. So like Yasuo or Lee Sin, where you are, I guess your actions per minute are really fucking high. It definitely contends with some of the highest APMs or actions per minute of characters in Smite that are mechanically intensive. Like, you are jumping all over the place with some of these characters in League of Legends, and you have mechanics that you just don't see even in Dota 2. Now, some people will say in Dota 2, because it does have extremes, right? Like I just said, you have characters that it kind of fills a whole spectrum, right? You should have every character type, but in League of Legends, you do have unique characters. You do have your characters that, you do have abilities that you just don't see in any other game. MMO, MOBA, period. League of Legends does have unique things to it. Many more unique things, probably, than a lot of these other games, actually. So that's kind of why I reference League of Legends a lot in these other games, because they definitely were directly inspired from League of Legends versus Dota, even though League of Legends was inspired from Dota. Kind of confusing, guys, I'm sorry. But anyways, League of Legends is basically Dota 2, but like really dumbed down. But then they actually added mechanics, kind of like what Smite did, copying from League of Legends. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they did. And League of Legends actually has expanded and evolved every single year. Like, it has become basically a different game every single year. So if it's been like a year or 2 years since you played, you should really fucking check it out, because it is seriously good. If you are, I know there's gonna be people in the comments like, League of Legends is dumb. It's for autistic kids. No. You're probably a bronze kid. You probably didn't even level up to do ranked. League of Legends is one of the most competitive games in the world that is mechanically intensive, tactically intensive, and strategically intensive. Sure, I'll admit it, not as tactically or, well, I guess strategically intensive as Dota 2, and maybe there's some debate if it's mechanically as intensive as Smite, but all in all, what it offers is it offers everything. And it takes the skill, like all the different kinds of skill sets that you can think of to play League of Legends. Yeah, and they have all different characters that it kind of fills a nice little spectrum. But I will say, League of Legends, what it's lacking, okay? Even though I think it fills everything, you know, every niche very well for a different kind of gameplay archetypes or game feels, it doesn't do what Dota 2 has, where you can actually control multiple units. So there's that. Vainglory doesn't really have that. Smite doesn't have that. Heroes of the Storm actually kind of has that. There's some heroes like Abathur. There's some heroes like Asmodan that actually control multiple units. But in Dota 2, that's kind of what makes it special. You have lots of characters that control lots of different units. In fact, every single character in the whole game has the ability, and you probably will actually control multiple units because of illusions and actually taming different creatures in the jungle, stuff like that. So League of Legends just simply doesn't have that. There's like 2 characters that actually control a separate entity, and it's really not the same. So that's the one thing that League of Legends is lacking, and truthfully, it really could add characters like that at any time, okay? I just think the engine wasn't ready. I think in the future, we will see more characters and champions like that, but just right now, it doesn't have that. So that's kind of the differences. League of Legends really focuses on that micro, mechanically intensive gameplay from top down. Smite is the same, but from third person. Dota 2 focuses on tactics and strategy, controlling multiple units across the map. Heroes of the Storm is kind of similar, except it's more like, smaller arenas with way more unique objectives and stuff like that. And then Vainglory is similar to League of Legends, at least in vein. Oh shit, it's called Vainglory. Anyways, in vein to League of Legends, except, a little bit more distilled, a little bit more simple. So those are the 5 games. Those are the 5 biggest MOBAs. Hopefully I kind of explained what they do and kind of how they're different, sort of. I don't know. You guys can see the gameplay for yourselves, and I'm sure you have seen it, but just take it from me, guys. Each of these games really do something unique, and I think they are worth trying. Like, really, you need to sit down and really try them. They're MOBAs, guys. Maybe you're not playing the right characters. Maybe you're not playing the game right at all. So like I said, for Dota 2, it took me 100 hours to actually kind of realize I was having fun. Now, for the others, it was a little bit faster, but yeah. Just keep that in your heart, friends, when you try out these games. These are the 5 best MOBAs that you can play right now. Undisputed in my... undisputed. Undisputed. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Skylent. I really hope you guys have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.